But in the meantime, you know Joe, but do you remember Pete? Long before Joe Biden came to be known as Delaware's most famous politician, there was one Pete DuPont, who through more than a few state polls proved it's most well-liked. The former Delaware governor, congressman, one-time presidential candidate, earned the respect of both sides of the aisle by confounding the traditional politics of either aisle. Just this past summer, it was Governor DuPont who suggested, I don't think so facetiously, that Hillary Clinton run for president, that she had the good business sense to do what her boss could not, maybe get the economy moving. Pete DuPont with me tonight on whether such a scenario is looking maybe a tad more likely. Governor, good to have you.
Well, Neil, thank you very much. And I would say that the opportunity for Hillary Clinton to run for president has actually increased. The problems in the current administration in the White House are putting a lot of people thinking we've got to do something else. Democrats are thinking it, Republicans are thinking it. So, you know, Hillary has been she has been Secretary of State. She has been married to the president, and she's been First Lady. She's
no,
been
you're right, and you were way ahead of the curve. You know, this got to be scuttlebutt later on, but you were ahead of it. My only historical reference here is that it's never worked. That the party that has intra-fighting always loses. You know, and that would happen here too, right?
Well, incumbent officers, be they governors, be they senators, be they presidents, but particularly presidents and governors, they're very hard to move on, to defeat, because they've had a lot of experience in the 4 years they've been in office. So I think probably President Obama is going to run again, probably for sure he's going to run again. And so I don't know that Hillary Clinton's going to do it, but you see it out there, and you see all the problems we're having here in the economy, and just maybe she's starting to think that way.
Well, even if she were, and even if she were to challenge him outright, I mean, the history on this is checkered with party efforts that ultimately failed. You know, Ronald Reagan put up a heck of a challenge to Gerald Ford in 1976. He came up just short. Gerald Ford loses in that fall. Jimmy Carter faced a really aggressive fight from Ted Kennedy, ends up losing that fall. That, in other words, when there is an inter-party challenge, even if the incumbent president in this case comes out on top, he is so battered that it's the other party that wins.
Well, that could be, and I'm not sure there's going to be that kind of a contest. But, you know, there's a lot of problems going on in Washington. We're seeing more and more members of the Democratic Party moving over to the idea that we really ought to get the tax rates kept low, not to let them go back up again.
Well, where do you think that stands, though, Governor? I mean, you're right. There are quite a few who feel that way. But in enough numbers to change the equation?
Well, I don't know whether they're going to change the equation right now, but I think with the seats that the House Republicans are going to add and take control of the House, the seats the Senate Republicans are going to add, and I think get within a 51-49 distance between Democrats and Republicans, I think we're going to begin to see some different policies coming along. I would guess the president will try to veto a lot of it, but the fact is that the American people today think the government's spending too much money, the deficits are too high, the taxes shouldn't go up, so maybe the pressure's going to work and the taxes won't go up.
You've been around the block a few times, and you know what happens to parties that have all the power. They abuse it or lose sight of it or get arrogant with it, and it happened to Republicans. It could be happening to Democrats again. How do Republicans, should they gain the House, some people say the Senate, tell the American people they're going to be different this time?
Well, that's absolutely the view they have to have, and that's something they have to put forward when we get a little bit closer to the election, maybe 3 or 4 weeks from now. They have to put forward the program that they would like to see put into place if they control the House.
In other words, right away, don't waste time. Go ahead, let people know exactly. In other words, not be, as their critics contend, the party of no, and everything the president proposes we hate.
No, they have to put it forward, and one of the things they've got to do is not yet. But I think it's coming, and they've got to say. Oh, I think before the election. I think we're going to get a full proposal.
Well, a lot of good that'll do.
Well, no, that'll do a lot of good. Here is an opportunity for the Republican Party to say the deficit is way too big. We got to cut spending down.
Taxes. That's a given, Pete. I mean, we got to cut spending. I mean, that's the thing. We all got to be thinner and eat right. But Pete, I'm telling you, they would be crazy not to run out the clock here and risk losing if they start saying specifically that the way to get entitlements under control is to cut them back or to rein them in. That's political suicide.
But you know, if you want to win an election, you have to have a couple of things you're proposing that voters hear you say and say, gosh, that's a good idea. Now, you have to have 2, 3, 4 of those. So the Republican Party has to put forward something. Admittedly, they're going to gain a lot of seats in the House. I think they may maybe 10 seats by the time they're done in majority. At the moment, it looks like they're going to be 2 or 3 seats ahead. But I think that's going to come to pass. So I think they need to start putting their proposals forward.
But with the same characters, I know you're backing Mike Castle. Of course, he's facing an insurgent Tea Party candidate. And the rap against the established Republican candidates is they just don't get it.
Well, I don't know who's going to win the election tomorrow. I've got to go vote in the morning. Then I'm going to sit at my desk and worry about it. Mike Castle, he was my lieutenant governor. Then he became governor of Delaware. He did a good job in both cases. I think he'll be a very, very good candidate and a very good United States senator. But he's got to get there, and it starts tomorrow.
Right.
I think he's going to win, but I think he's going to win a little bit closer than we thought he was going to win a month or so ago.
If he wins at all, we'll see. Governor, it's always a pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Pete DuPont.